Welcome down the rabbit hole, friends. It's been a long but amazing day at the pumpkin patch and apple orchard. And then once I got home, I had to spend a lot of time helping my daughter create a slideshow about our life abroad for school. And now I am just ready to talk some Kate Gosselin schmeck. All right, so here we go. We're starting this video off with a bunch of information about how Kate obtained the mansion house. Hoffman writes, there has been a great deal of speculation that John and Kate didn't actually buy their new $1 million house in the township near Wernersville, Pennsylvania. People have speculated that TLC planned to move them there because it would be easier for filming. There would be a lot more space and people could actually stay there as needed, maybe even overnight. There was an apartment over the garage, although Kate planned to give that to her husband, John. But we do know that Kate constantly complained about how small their original house was to TLC, to the production company, like making sure that everyone knew this house was just like stifling their 8 little miracles. But ever since moving in to the mansion house, Kate has always denied that TLC helped them. And in 2011, she even tweeted in response to a question from a fan about the house. This is what she said. LOL, not a penny was paid for this house other than what I paid with my hard-earned ching-ching. Did the company you work for buy your house? No, Kate, but guess what? Mommy and Daddy didn't buy it for me either. Hoffman writes, let's dissect Kate's response on Twitter and provide some real history and facts here. Because the reality is that John Gosselin's father allegedly bought Kate and John their first house in Pennsylvania. Yes, you heard me right. Kate wants to make it like, look, I came up, I started from zero, and now I'm at the top. But someone did give me a house along the way. I know someone else in my life who's been talking about this recently. Someone who constantly criticizes other people about nepotism or just getting something from their parents, their father. But it turns out that that's how Kate got her start as well. I would have loved for someone to give me a house or anything or some kind of a down payment. The reality is that when someone gets that from their family, it is a leg up in the world and you cannot deny it. But Kate's out here acting like she's busted her ass on these TLC shows to make that mansion a reality. Okay, now Hoffman is really angry that Kate is trying to make it like, look, I worked really hard and I paid for this house, because he says, look, if it was your money, it wasn't just your money. John had worked really hard, actually in real jobs along the way, to get some of the income for you. And John and the kids also appeared on the show. And to be quite honest, it seems like they were the biggest draw, because once John was gone, the show didn't do very well. Hoffman writes, in August of 2008, a communication was sent from TLC Discovery to John and Kate Gosselin that lists specific ideas for what would be needed in a new house for the Goslins. Hoffman's like, this is awfully sus. The house needed to be designed with production in mind. They needed to have rooms big enough for the film crew to film activities and have a separate entrance for crew with room for equipment storage. And the overall goal, as written in the email, was to build a functional and secure home for the Goslins while filming the ups and downs of the design and building process to share with the viewers. The focus of the draft plan was twofold: functionality for the family, and it needed to be designed with production in mind. The emails show a whole list of changes that the production crew thought would need to be made to any kind of home that was purchased. For example, they wanted no dining room, just a very large kitchen for the family to gather and eat and film. So not a real house to live in, a house that basically acts as a stage. A family room large enough for the entire family to gather so that they can have their activities filmed. Separate entrance for the film crew with plenty of storage space for all of their equipment. area for the kids to have desks, and a homework area for filming because they were required to allow the kids to have a certain number of hours for school. I'm willing to bet that if the show would have gone on, Kate would have pulled them out of school and just had them do filming full-time and then homeschool. A home office for John to film from the work from home angle. This was like a whole thing that they wanted. They kind of wanted John to be like having a work from home business that they could film. There would be a separate master suite, and that would be the one place that was off limits to cameras. Then they literally went through and talked about the estimated cost for everything. So in the email they wrote, the house would approximately be 7,500 square feet, and the budget would need to be $1,275,000 plus land costs and furnishings. The email says, John and Kate are prepared to purchase the land only and to pay all taxes going forward on the house after the initial tax burden. This really sounds like TLC and the production company were getting ready to build John and Kate a house. The email goes on to talk about what we've already talked about before. It mentions Lane Furnishings and Ethan Allen Furnishings and how some of those items could potentially be bought for them or donated from these companies if John and Kate do some kind of commercial. It talks about like where they would get the lumber from and how that would be one of their major expenses if they decide to build the house from the ground up or if they want to add on to an existing house. And they also list like, we're going to need to get certain kinds of appliances. Maybe we can cut a deal with Whirlpool. You know what else is listed in the email? It's so funny to me. Okay, this is coming directly from the email. John and Kate are committed to organic foods, so they would really be looking forward to learning about green building and making similar choices and sharing with viewers what they learn. They were literally going to fund their whole entire lives, their home. They were going to get food for free by filming, like having the nannies go in the garden and plant everything and force the kids child labor in the garden to grow cucumbers. And then they would carry it into Kate in the kitchen. I can just see it. This is like a this was going to be a full-on Truman Show. If John had not gotten up, gotten out, and put like a huge wrench in the machine that was moving forward with Kate and the kids, they would have been on the Truman Show for real. It could have gotten so much worse than it was. But this was also quite interesting because as you read on through the emails, Hoffman lets us know that Kate comes off as being very concerned about how this is going to look to the public. He writes, ever on the lookout to protect her image and not wanting to jeopardize her speaking engagement source of income, Kate was very aware that they had to be very careful about public perception. When John sent her a link to a positive newspaper article about them in June of 2008, Kate said it was a good article, and that's why TLC wants us to continue to be normal. Then she gave one of her now infamous quotes. Wonder how we will explain the $2 million house. Hoffman says, explaining the house was actually not a problem. The easiest way to explain the $2 million house to people who thought the Goslins were struggling financially and had to speak at churches with their hands out to get donations to feed their family was to simply downplay its size and cost. Kate Goslin started tweeting and saying and making it a talking point in every interview that she participated in. She repeatedly said, God had answered our prayer by supplying a house for us that just meets our every need. Hoffman argues it was not Kate, but TLC Discovery Communications who helped supply the house that the Goslins moved into. So no, TLC didn't end up building them a house, but it sort of seems like Kate went forward with buying the shell of the house, and then TLC was likely going to move forward with like massive renovations. I mean, we already saw it on the show. If you guys remember, as soon as they moved in, they started talking about like getting the barn up and running, getting horses for the kids. They built several things on the property to include these absolutely adorable playhouses for the children. They started creating different like security mechanisms all throughout the property. So I think Hoffman is kind of leaving us with the sense that even though he cannot provide all receipts for the idea that TLC contributed to the purchasing of the house, these emails alone seem to indicate to us that they were in bed with Kate when it came to getting this house for the family. Hoffman immediately moves into the next section, which is all about Kate's bed rest. After she gave birth, he just wants to let us know that Kate has spent a lot of time telling everyone that she was on bed rest for the entire 30 weeks that she was pregnant with her children. But like everything in Kate's life, Hoffman believes it just wasn't true. It's another lie. Hoffman writes, "The truth is, and this was confirmed by Dr. John Body, Kate's obstetrician, that Kate went on bed rest in her home at 7 weeks and started bed rest in the hospital at 20 weeks. She gave birth to the sextuplets at 30 weeks, so that's a total of 23 weeks of bed rest." He wants to make sure that we know that she's exaggerating that extra 49 days. And that's just part of who Kate is. I mean, it seems like such a little detail, but I think it's important to Hoffman because he believes like every single situation that Kate is involved in, there's got to be some kind of exaggeration going on. Hoffman is asking a big question. The title of this section is called, "Does Kate Goslin Really Even Believe in God?" Hoffman writes, "Miracles to Kate Goslin include things like getting a good deal on a freezer at Lowe's. Call me crazy, but I always thought God would have more important things to worry about than Kate's freezer. Like, say, wars, famine, and starving children all around the world, for example. But I guess I was wrong." This is a paraphrased excerpt from one of Kate's journal entries. "Another miracle day," Kate said. She said she and John got a new freezer for $618 after using a gift card and a rebate and a 10% off purchase. Then Kate's brother Kevin gave her a $100 coupon. Remember the one that she kicked out of her life and said a bunch of crap about on some of her most recent interviews, so that Kate sent John back to the store to get even more savings. Kate mentions miracles, God, Jesus, and Lord several times in her books and journals. But given her actions and willingness to constantly scam others, it makes me suspicious whether or not she truly believes in God," Hoffman writes. And the main bone that Hoffman has to pick when it comes to Kate Goslin is the fact that she is kind of running a scam with Christian churches in her area all throughout Pennsylvania and across the country as well as they become more and more popular. She goes to all of these churches to do speaking engagements for which she gets paid to participate in by TLC. And then she hands around an offering plate saying, like, we really need help to keep these kids going. It's not easy over here for a blonde white woman living in central Pennsylvania with all the support and love of multiple families around me. But she always reminds them that she did a miraculous thing by ensuring that she did not participate in any selective reduction with the kids because God is in control, and to God she gives all the glory and the praise. But it's here that Hoffman wants to let us know in all the time he covered the Goslins, he was often outside, like, stalking them on Saturdays and Sundays, and he never saw Kate Goslin take the kids to church. Hoffman writes, not on a Sunday, not on a Saturday, or any other day of the week. Then, finally, on Easter Sunday 2012, Kate tweeted that she would be taking the kids to Easter Sunday services. And sure enough, she actually did it. I saw it for myself, he writes. The fact that she tweeted far in advance about going to church was a sure sign that she was angling for a photo op. That would definitely be waiting for her. Now, since then, she got the photo op back then, but since then, since Kate Plus 8 has been canceled, Kate has started tweeting a lot more and saying that she takes the kids to church on Sundays. She will tweet things like heading to church with the kids, getting ready for church tonight. But Hoffman was suspicious of what was going on here, so he decided to stalk her and find out for sure. He writes, So I started spending my Sunday mornings once again at the Goslin house, like I had done so many times before, waiting for Kate to load up the kids and take them to church. I wanted to believe Kate Goslin was telling the truth about going to Sunday services. I really did. I went to Kate's house early in the morning for 8 straight Sundays when I knew she had the kids, since she tweets that she takes them to church on the Sundays that she has custody. But much to my surprise, okay, not really. The church trips never happened, not once that I saw, even though on some of the days that I was there, she tweeted that she had in fact gone to church, even as I was there watching and listening to the kids playing in the yard in the front of the house. I'm not surprised either. Everything for Kate Goslin is just about creating a narrative for people to read about on social media or see on TV or hear about when she gives an interview or to talk about when she gives a speech asking for money. She creates an idea of who she is, but it definitely isn't real. Not at all. I have felt a true sense of disappointment as I've gone down these rabbit holes, and I've realized that what people were presenting to me, even from the beginning, right? Because they weren't always rich and famous with all of these secrets to protect. Like from the beginning, they presented something that was totally false. The next section is entitled, "We only film a few hours a week." And it's quite sad to think about the ways in which the Goslin children were taken advantage of. Their show exploded and gained popularity so quickly that they needed to film a lot in order to get more seasons out as quickly as possible. Hoffman writes, Kate always insisted publicly that they were actually doing very little filming, but privately the truth was an entirely different story. In an email Kate sent to Crystal on February 5th, 2008, and this is just someone random who Kate and John are working with. Okay, this was in response to an offer for free hair plugs for John. And Kate said, "We are filming just about every day lately. Every week and every show had a schedule for the Goslin family to follow. I have many of those schedules in front of me for reference. There was nothing about the family's life that wasn't controlled by a production schedule and pre-planned storylines." On the season 3 behind the scenes episode of John and Kate Plus 8, Kate put the rumors about long hours of filming to rest from the interview couch. Kate says, and there's also a misconception that we film, like a whole series in like some certain time frame of the year and we're done for the whole year. No. We've never stopped since we started in August of 2005. And it's not glamorous and glorious, and we're not always smiles and giggles, but we have love in our family, and that's really all that matters. I mean, like love and a contract with Ann Taylor so that I can wear the highest quality of clothing. Kate's emails also expose some information about what was going on in the background with her family, because remember, Kate told us that her family really chooses to not be a part of her lives and they don't know how to help her. Hoffman writes, "This is an excerpt from a very long email discussing Kate's estrangement from her family that Kate's sister Clarissa sent to Kate on Thursday, June 19th, 2008. The subject line was, 'Hi sis.' All right, here's some juicy tea. Kate's sister tells Kate that she loves her and she prays for her every single day. She says that she really misses Kate terribly and she often thinks of the memories of their childhood together, like watching TV, baking and playing in their rooms together, etc. She apologizes over and over again to Kate for posting personal information about Kate on her blog. And this is the apparent reason that Kate no longer speaks to her or her family. She ends the letter by saying that she hopes that all 10 of them are doing great, and she'd really love to hear from Kate that she knows how busy Kate is. She tells Kate to hug her dear nieces and nephews for her. She ends the letter with, 'Love you, sis.'" Hoffman asks, "Does this sound like someone who doesn't want to be a part of Kate or the kids' lives? It's sad to think that the Goslin children are missing out on all of this love from their own family." All right, guys, we're going to take a break here. I hope you will join me again next time as we head down yet another rabbit hole.